Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Wednesday again. It happens once a week. And today is the weekly tech forum, WTF for Love My Tool. We're trying out a slightly different format today. This would be more of a technical presentation, as if it's a technical article posted on Love My Tool. And today's presenter is Chris Greer, who's also going to be responsible for the Newbie Day at Sharkfest. But before I introduce Chris, I'd like to introduce my panel members. Chris Bihari.
How you doing,
hi,
Denny?
Chris. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Chris Bihari is a sponsor for Sharkfest, as well as a longtime sponsor for Love My Tool. He's also the CEO and co-founder of Garland Technology. Also, we have Casey Mullis. Hi, Casey. Good morning.
Good morning. Afternoon.
And Casey is on night shift these days, so in case you notice that he's not on uniform, that's the reason why. And then finally, Tim. Good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And Tim is actually coming out to California. He hasn't been out to the left coast in years, right?
8 years and a few months.
I think there's all-point bulletin already out in San Francisco for you. So we look forward to seeing you, and we'll definitely spend some time together next week. So back to Chris Greer. Hi, Chris. So tell us what you're going to do today, and just take over, and then we'll have the discussion afterwards.
Okay, that sounds good, Denny. So again, my name is Chris Greer. Work with Packet Pioneer. So I author articles, do videos, do training, professional services, and do troubleshooting with Wireshark. So what I've been invited to do today on this forum is to give basically a teaser presentation of what next Monday's Newbie Day will be for Sharkfest. So I'm going to show just a few of the slides that I've prepared for the presentation, just to warm you up for what it will be about. And we hope to see you there. If you are going to be coming to Sharkfest, it's going to be a great session. It's going to be a full day. And it's going to be before some of the more advanced topics come in and get going with some of those things within Wireshark. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my presentation. Hopefully you can see it. And I'll do my little screen share.
And while Chris is doing that, I'm going to mention that the newbie class starts at 9 a.m., okay, and it goes till, it has a lunch, and it goes all the way through till 5, and it's in the Angelico Concert Hall, and after 5 o'clock, you have an hour before the welcome dinner and the social dessert and general intoxicating moments. And
it's already paid for as part of the package, right?
Correct. If you're part of, if you registered, and you'll be able to register at 8 o'clock in the morning. There will be a breakfast serve at 8, and you'll be able to register in the Angelico Hall.
So for those of you watching out there, we definitely recommend that you come. There aren't that many things free in the West Coast that you can have a great time and not to have to explain it later. So this is one of them. So go ahead, Chris.
Okay, well, before I get started here, first I'd like to talk about how this session came about in the first place. Why are we doing a Newbie Day, and why is it a full day versus the other sessions at Sharkfest are about an hour and a half long over the following 3 days? Well, one thing that happens at the conclusion of each Sharkfest is that there is a survey that goes out, and the attendees write in different suggestions, things they like, things they didn't like, things that they would suggest as improvement. And Janice, she was on last week's session. Janice, who is one of the organizers of Wireshark, she mentioned to me that it was interesting to see how many people asked for more basic, generic, intro, newbie type material. And so with all of that feedback coming in, since this was such a requested thing, this year they went ahead and decided to make it that full day. Now, I saw that personally last year when I had a customer of mine that I was doing an on-site training for the following week after Sharkfest. and I invited him to come to SharkFest the week before, figuring that would be a good way for him to get some hands-on before I actually go into his environment and do some specific one-on-one training. It was interesting to hear his feedback of Wireshark. Now, he's got a strong networking background. He's done some basic network analysis with Wireshark. But the following week when I got on site with him, he told me, he says, I loved SharkFest, great information. It was just too hard for me to follow most of the sessions. And I asked him why, and he said, well, a lot of times, because, and it's not the fault of the instructors, but a lot of times they're clicking through Wireshark to different areas that I just don't have a lot of comfort with. So it's difficult to keep up with the presenter as they're moving through Wireshark, because since they only have 90 minutes, a lot of times they just can't back up and teach some of the fundamentals. So with that feedback, again, that's how Newbie Day came around. So after making sure that that was on the schedule, I was approached by Janice to ask if I wanted to instruct it, so I have the honor of doing that on Monday. So like you guys said, it's something you can drop into, and we'd love to have you there. So
by the way, the Janice that he's talking about is Mama Shark. So if there's anything at Wireshark that you need help on, ask for Mama Shark.
Absolutely. Janice is the one. So I'm going to begin the session setting the expectation for what it is we're going to do. What are we going to talk about? I want to be very clear that it is a beginning course for new Wireshark users, but that doesn't mean that experienced Wireshark users won't get something out of it. It's going to be a primer session. It's going to be a session that will set a baseline, set a foundation, review some topics that will make it easier to understand the other sessions that are going to happen during the week. We're going to be covering packet structure, traffic encapsulation, the Wireshark interface. We're going to be building filters. This is a hands-on class. So when you first come to the session, Betty, she's going to be there. She's going to be helping me with passing out USB drives that Laura Chappell is building today, actually. And those have several demonstration trace files on them. And at several points during Newbie Day, I'm going to be stopping on a slide with a ton of questions on it. And you're going to have a trace file, and you're going to work through those questions using that trace file. And throughout the day, these trace files grow in their complexity and the difficulty. And that's why I say, no matter what level you're at with your use of Wireshark, you're going to be able to take something away from this. Now, what the class isn't, just to be clear on that, it's not advanced analysis. We're trying to leave that for the other sessions. Something I'm trying to be very careful of is I don't want to go so far into one feature, option, or graph with Wireshark that the other sessions I basically steal their thunder. So what I'm going to do is set it up to where they can pick right up, and we're ready to go with those other sessions. So, and as the bullet says on this slide at the bottom, we're going to take our time. This is going to be something that we have the luxury of having a full day. So we're going to be going through the different features and functions that most people get stuck on. So also, we want to be very clear that there's nothing wrong with Newbie. Sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm not a newbie. I've been using Wireshark for years, or I just don't think that session's for me because, and then whatever the reason may be. Or maybe they just don't, they're embarrassed to go to a newbie class, thinking, well, you know, I'm beyond that for some reason. But really, I want to emphasize as well, there's nothing wrong with newbie. To some extent, all of us are newbies, right? When I sit in some of the other presenters' sessions, I feel like a newbie because they're going into a piece of Wireshark that I, frankly, don't use all the time. So there we go. Now a presenter becomes a newbie. And that's something that I think is excellent at Sharkfest. I think it's unique in that we see presenters, they'll present a session, and then they'll go and they'll sit in other presenters' sessions. In fact, even with Newbie Day, what I'm going to do on this slide, I'm going to find out how many presenters there are actually going to be in the audience, how many return returnees to Sharkfest that we have in class, and I think we're going to be surprised to see how many people are there with experience, but they're all there to learn something new. So there's nothing wrong with Newbie, and we're happy when people show up. So what can we do with Wireshark? Why is it that we're all here? Why is it that it's such an important component with visibility, with monitoring, getting things done? My purpose here with this slide is to show how it's an amazing way when it comes to the analysis and troubleshooting world. It's an incredible way of getting your boss off your back, right? A lot of times we're getting screamed at as network people, being blamed for network performance problems. The network's slow, it's that new firewall, it's that new switch, it's that new router, or whatever it is, or maybe this area of the network over here needs to be upgraded, and that's the reason why things are slow. People make a lot of guesses. They throw a lot of blame in our industry. But with the right tools, with the right monitoring solutions, of which Wireshark is a major component, we can actually find the data that we need, collect it, interpret, and analyze it to be able to turn that into performance improvements. So what it does is it helps us to stop the blame game. Instead of constantly saying the network is slow, we can actually find the root cause of issues and then take educated, informed decisions to be able to address root cause. And why do that with network traffic? What's so important about collecting and interpreting packets on the wire? Well, packets don't lie. You're going to hear that several times throughout Sharkfest. Packets do not lie. They're the truth of what's happening on the wire. And when those packets are flying by a connection and transporting applications throughout the system and out to the internet and so on, certain things can go wrong. And if we can't see it, then we can't fix it. So we can't fix what we can't see. If it's just flowing by on the wire and we start making changes without analyzing what's really happening, well, then we're doing guesswork troubleshooting. That's what I call it. We start to resort to the 3 R's of troubleshooting, and that is replace, reboot, and reimage. And in my experience in going and helping people resolve issues, it's amazing to see how many decisions are implemented in IT without first analyzing what the truth is on the wire. Now, traffic and protocol analysis, it's the most detailed troubleshooting method. It's not the only troubleshooting method. There's other tools, things such as SNMP scanners, SNMP monitoring tools. We also have NetFlow. We get flow metrics based off of the routers. So there's other monitoring solutions that will complement what Wireshark is telling us, but at the end of the day, protocol analysis, traffic analysis, it's the most detailed troubleshooting method. It's going to give us the true bits and bytes that are flying across the wire, and then with that detail, we can make an informed decision. Now, with that said, why is that hard? Why are we here? Well, what's difficult about packet analysis? Well, I use this slide because, like the movie that we love, it can be difficult to look at a screen that looks complex and there's lots of numbers and headers that we may not understand and values that we're not quite sure how to interpret. So it can be difficult with Wireshark if we're not comfortable with the user interface, if we're not comfortable with how traffic flows, if we're not really sure what the root problem is. So just because we take Wireshark and we install it on a machine and begin to capture packets doesn't mean that we're going to just be able to immediately find the root cause of a problem. Wireshark is a type of tool that takes time, it takes study, it takes experience, but if we put forth the work, if we're willing to invest some time and energy into really looking into what we're seeing on the wire, then we can begin to see the true picture represented by the packets. I like this slide as well because it shows that this is how Wireshark can look to some people, especially when we're new. Hey, here's a cockpit. Go in and fly this plane. A lot of us think, yeah, right. Look at all those dials and look at all the different buttons that can be pushed. I don't know what the half of those do. I have an idea what the steering piece does. I think I can figure that out, but the rest, well, that looks pretty scary. And a lot of times in a beginning Wireshark class, that's how Wireshark can look. It can look like a daunting collection of options, charts, graphs, and so on. But we're going to take this a piece at a time, look at what these different components do, why you'd use them, and I'm even going to show you ones that maybe you can ignore for now, ones that you don't have to worry, and in time, as you develop more skill with the basic ones, then you can move into some of the more advanced features. Now, at this point, what we're going to do is, it's a hands-on class. So if you are coming to Newbie Day, something I want to be sure that you do is bring your laptop. Bring it. We need it. You're going to need it. You're going to need the latest version of Wireshark installed. So if you do that, then you can keep up with the labs and the things that we're going to be doing. But at this point, I'm going to be inviting everyone to actually open up Wireshark. And then we're going to break down what we're looking at here. We're going to talk about frames versus packets versus segments. I'm going to be spending several minutes on slides like these and really breaking down what is the frame section, how does that data get there, what's the Ethernet 2 header component look like, what's a frame versus a packet versus a segment, and get them comfortable with how to read these different components of the detailed view. Also in class, we're going to be taking a look at the OSI model. Now sometimes when I'm teaching this, I bring this slide up and I get people rolling their eyes. They say, oh goodness, this OSI again. I thought I left that back in my CCNA class. Well, not true. OSI model is an important component of communications, but a lot of times as network people, we think of the OSI model in terms of network devices. When I say the word router, a lot of times we think, oh, that's at the network layer. If I say MAC address, many times we think, oh, that's at the data link layer. Or web service, oh, that's an application, that's up there at layer 7. And a lot of times what we do is we compartmentalize different devices and features of the network to in some way mentally decide, is this my area of responsibility or is it not? Now, when it comes down to traffic analysis, traffic also, the protocols that we're going to be interpreting also fit on this model. But as network analysts, what we're going to do is decompartmentalize ourselves as people that want to go in and really see the full picture. So instead of focusing, a lot of network engineers, what they say is, I'm responsible for layer 1, 2, and 3, my cables, my switches, my routers, things like that. Maybe I dabble with the transport layer, but largely that's the server guy. That's not me. But as analysts, what we're going to do is look at the whole component. We're going to see how traffic looks on the wire that we can collect, and then how we can interpret it. So I'm going to flip through these slides kind of quickly. This is just my last 5 that I'm going to set as the teaser for Newbie Day. But we're going to look at what traffic looks like at layer 1. And this is a packet that was actually captured on a 10-base-2 connection several years ago. And it was brought into an oscilloscope with memory on it, and we were able to actually capture a packet on the actual wire.
It's a pretty short wire, otherwise that transitions would be all over the place.
This was the actual frame was the waveform that created this frame. This is this is just the first byte, basically, the preamble, first couple of bytes of the frame. The actual frame itself was massive. It was very long, and it was interesting to look through to see how data was turned into electrical signals and then sent on a wire. But that's what's nice about an analyzer like Wireshark. What it does is it takes those bits and bytes and things that are sent into that NIC, and it helps us to turn it into readable data that we can actually interpret through the drivers. So here on the OSI model, we're going to be talking about framing. We're going to be talking about where our addressing is at layer 2, the type field, what that does, what's involved in the data portion, the CRC at the end of this frame, what that means, when things go wrong, why they go wrong there. And just to go through the last few slides, we're going to be taking a look at doing the same thing with the IP header and then also with TCP and UDP. and then getting into some of the actual application that's carried by these headers and sent through the system. So this is just literally the setup for getting us into the labs. So we're still not into the guts of Wireshark yet, but as you notice, we're going to be talking about data flows. We're going to be talking about switches, how they forward, how they make decisions. We're going to be talking about the difference, or how we actually collect traffic. Do we do it on the client end, on the server end? What's the pros and cons of that? We're going to be talking about the difference between a span and a tap, what considerations could come into play. So with that, Denny, that's all the slides that I wanted to share for now, just to get people aware of what we're going to be covering next week. But there we go. So that's your Newbie Day teaser. So I really hope that those viewing this, if you're going to be at Sharkfest, please drop in. There's going to be some Q&A at the end. There's going to be some great takeaways. So don't think of Newbie Day as, just for the bare bones basic, just installed Wireshark people. I think a lot of people can take some good information away from this.
Yeah, that's the point I would make, is there will be a lot of great opportunities for people, whether they're newbies or they're not newbies, because we never know everything about everything. And every few months, Chris releases a new version of Wireshark, so there may be new things in there that you didn't know about. So this is a great class for even people that aren't newbies. I think it should be, newbies and experts, because there will be a lot of things. And one of the things that Chris and I and Gerald Combs agree on is that probably somewhere in the high 90% of people that are using Wireshark don't really even understand the fundamentals of TCP IP, or let's say layer 3 down in the stack. And Chris, I've been with Chris, I've known Chris a long time, and trust me, you'll get introduced to it in a way that you can understand it and take that knowledge going forward. And he will cover my favorite subject, taps. I don't believe in capturing any other way. So.
Well, and Tim, I'm going to make sure that I have a roving mic, so when I go over that as well, if there's anything I've forgotten, then I'm going to make sure because you're going to be in the class. Is that right, Tim?
I'm going to stop by. I'd like to stay, but I'm not going to be there to teach. I'll be there to help and learn, because I need to learn a lot too.
Very good. Well, I'm sure if you do come to Newbie Day, you'll hear from Tim at least a couple times during the day.
Well, you were saying that everybody is a newbie, but Tim is the one person I know that has a hard time pretending to be a newbie. He doesn't. It's just hard for him to do that.
No, actually, it's not. Not when I got people like Chris around.
Hey, Chris Prahari, give us a vendor's perspective. I mean, I was a vendor once, and I know, especially from someone who's selling a tap or tap-related product, it's frustrating when the customers don't know the basic, right?
No, absolutely, and I think it's going to be a great class. I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm actually coming in Tuesday morning. My schedule didn't account for it, but yeah, it's great to get back to the basics and really see how you can use the tools. And it happens all the time. I mean, span versus tap. How do I get the data? How do I connect to the data? It's the simple things that I think more people need to talk about, and I get it all the time. And someone will get a tap, and they'll get a basic breakout tap, and they'll say, why do I only see one side of the traffic? I only have a single NIC card in my laptop, and what's going on here? The tap's broken, or Wireshark's broken, or why isn't this working? And so it truly is. You got to go back to the basics, and I think everybody can benefit from this. And I agree, with Tim. I mean, the newbies is great, but I think anybody who's going to sit through it's going to learn a lot. And so yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah. So again, this is I think the newbies is a new feature for Sharkfest. And if I understand it correctly, it's really meant for two kinds of people, right? Those who don't know and know that they don't know, and those who don't know and don't know that they don't know. Those are scary. Yeah.
I qualify on both parts.
No, Chris. I mean, Tim, there's the third and the fourth, which is the unknowable. Remember?
That's the ones you can't teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
Anything?
I
Yeah.
was just,
Uh-huh.
I was just gonna say I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out there, and I know Tim, haven't seen you face to face in a while, so looking forward as well as you, Denny. So and Chris, haven't seen you guys in a while, so it'd be great to get together, cause some trouble in California.
So Tim, I think I look at the agenda. Your session is on Thursday, or is it on Wednesday? I forgot.
My keynote is
Uh-huh.
on Thursday. Let's see.
I think it's Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, my keynote's on
Today's
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
and
yeah.
my class is on Thursday. That's
Your
what
class
it
is on Thursday. Your keynote's on Wednesday. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll make it out there.
Yeah, and we'll I'll be I think it's Wednesday night. We have there's a dinner reception and booth, so if people want to learn more about taps, we're actually giving away a couple taps as well. So we're going to get some Wireshark geeks connected so they can see every bit, byte, and packet on the network with their taps.
Good.
And Chris
Hey,
will be using
I
his
want to
tap.
make sure that we got about 3 more minutes. I want to make sure that we answer the question that Chris Greer had raised, which is that is there anything that we can is there any feedback that we can give him that help him sort of hone this class? We still have time to change lives.
No, I've
Chris
been around Chris a long time, and trust me, Chris does two things when he presents. He's an excellent at presenting specific material, but he's also really good at leaving the little nuances, the questions that aren't, you're not going to challenge you with a question, but he's going to ask questions and then let you decide if it's something that you don't really know the answer to that, then you can jump in.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Chris Greer actually have a day job. He's doing God's work down in Costa Rica. And so when he teaches, he's not teaching, he's converting.
So I'm a Wireshark evangelist for the week.
Yeah, the passion and the patience and the love that comes through. So don't miss this. Do not miss this.
Chris, can you wear a collar? Like a preacher's collar?
I don't typically, but I could try. I'll see what I have.
I think that'd be. We'll call him Father Chris.
Okay, Pastor.
Preacher.
Preacher.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
I'm getting a nickname here.
Yeah, Preacher Chris. He's going to convert you to the real world of data analysis and capture.
Yeah, we should put that in the description.
Yeah, I think we ought to. And not only is he going to do it, you're going to enjoy it, or else.
Yeah, it should be fun. It'll be nice having you guys there, and even the experts that'll be presenting in other days. Please drop in, and and don't be afraid if I put you on the spot and make you say something.
Are you, Chris? Are you going to be recording your own session? Probably not, right? This is more a hands-on session.
Yeah,
it's
this
difficult to record, right?
And just due to the length as well, since it is an all-day thing, I kind of went back and forth as far as recording the whole thing. I might do sections, but as a whole, it just doesn't work too well. It gets pretty boring when you watch it back.
Yeah. Hey, I have a suggestion. I wonder if you could take your newbie class and break it up into small pieces, and maybe find a chance to present it, on a WTF.
Sure.
And so we brand it as the Sharkfest Wireshark newbie class, and that's the one. And the other one is that I wonder if Chris Behari might be interested in putting some money and sponsor this and brand it, so that it's a Garland Technology property. I think there's a way that we could do this that is affordable and everybody would be happy. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds good.
Because I mean, seriously, I think as a vendor, as I said, the thing that helps us is really going back to the basic, right? Because the customers know the features, they have all these, they know what they want, and the service that we can often provide is really going back and teach more the fundamentals, right, Chris?
I agree. I mean, I did a seminar a couple weeks ago for some security devices, and out of about 50 people in the seminar, there was only one person deploying the security tools with taps, and the security vendor was even stating that you're going to lose sessions, you're going to lose some visibility, and it kind of took me back to kind of remember we do have to go to the basics, and we forget about it, that kind of just teaching the basics of, do you want to see every bit, byte, and packet on the network, and how do you do that, and how do you do it easily, how do you do it cost effectively, and why do you need a good foundation? And a lot of people start looking at, I have all this data and I'm going to take all these 10 gig, 40 gig spam ports and bring it in, and but they're really not seeing the fundamental basics of the data, the raw bit and byte and packet. So I agree. I think this could be very exciting and a great educational little series.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, with that, I think we're going to close the show. Tim, why don't you give the last word, and then and again remind everyone that they should come out to see you.
Well, I don't think necessarily want them to come see me. I think this is a huge learning event. I want to contribute a little bit. I'm doing a class on the anatomy of a cyber attack, kind of the planning, the focus, and the fundamentals around it. I think there are going to be so many incredible. I was just looking through the agenda earlier, trying to figure out what classes I wanted to go to, and unfortunately, I want to go to all of them. So it ain't going to happen. But I want to come away from Sharkfest with two things. I want people to understand that TAP is not something that you should even question. It should be an undeniable part of everything you do. Okay. And Chris, Tony, and I are actually working on some more tests to validate the loss of frames and the inaccuracy of using other access methods. Chris has done a great one. Matter of fact, we just took it out of Love My Tool. Chris approved. We changed a few things up and put it, and it will be now on Garland Technologies website. So if you want to see the reality of what a TAP does versus SpanPort, you've got hard evidence now. It's not like, oh, well, it doesn't do anything. But I want people to go to Sharkfest, and I want people to come away and asking questions, saying, man, we got to have another one. We got to focus on different things, more topics, more considerations. One thing, Denny, you and I've learned over the years that we've been in the industry, and Chris too, is it's all about community. I mean, that's what Love My Tool is about, community. And Wireshark and Sharkfest is a community gathering. It's like a picnic with people that are, geeks. I mean, I'd love to have a T-shirt that just said, I'm a shark geek, and that's it. That covers everything. And so this is an incredible event. I think they want to grow it. I know Janice is looking at doing one overseas, and maybe moving it around. I think it's great that we have people like Chris Bahari there with his product, showing people a real product that you got to have. To me, it's going to be the best time I've had in many, many years, because I'm going to see my friends, but I'm going to get to learn a lot of stuff. And trust me, I want to learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So it's incredible, and I do agree with Denny. This would be a great thing to take Chris and build little pieces of it, and just simple things, like how do I use my TAP and find out what my baseline for my physical network is, just my baseline, and then move it up from there. How do I do an HTTPS study or an HTTP study? How do I know if I'm being redirected? Just simple things that you can do in 10 or 15 minutes. People will dig it big time.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that, we hope to see, if not all of you, most of you, some of you, next week in the wine country out in California. And thanks again, Chris Greer.
You got it, Denny.
Good job, Chris.
Thanks, Chris Bihari. Thanks, Casey. You muted yourself, but and thanks, Tim. See you soon. Okay, everybody stay.
God bless all.